Namaskar, I am Purnendu and I welcome you all to the next session of our strategic management video lecture series. In this part, we will deal with the next tool of business portfolio analysis, which is McKinsey's 7S framework. Now, it is a framework or tool developed by the consulting giant McKinsey's, and it takes into consideration the 7 S's as is reflected in the name. What are these 7 S's? Well, they are categorized into 2 parts. These 7 S's are divided into 2 parts. There are the hard S's, hard because these S's are supposed to be, these 3 S's are supposed to be more tangible in nature, and then there are the soft S's, which are more intangible in nature. These cannot be judged very easily. So, these 3 S's and on the 4 S's on this side, they together comprise of the McKinsey 7S framework. Why is this framework used? How good is it, or why is it implemented or used by companies? Well, it is implemented or used to evaluate a organizational design. Is the organization completely fit to take on a new strategy? Is it the internal structure, the strategy, the systems, the staff, skills, are they properly aligned to accept the incoming strategy? You might have chosen a joint venture with a foreign partner, but are your internal strengths and weaknesses in sync with the incoming company's culture, incoming companies or the foreign companies strategy, structure? Are they both matching, or is there a mismatch? Because a mismatch might prove very costly when implementing a strategy. So, to evaluate that, the McKinsey 7S framework was developed. This also means that the McKinsey 7S framework, unlike the other portfolio analysis tools like the BCG matrix, the GE 9-cell matrix, the Hoffa's product market evaluation matrix, is exclusively a tool to focus on the internal framework, not the external factors. It does not have to do anything with the market performance, it is the business strength, the competitive position as taken in the other matrices. If you remember, in the BCG matrix, we had the growth, market growth rate and relative market share. In the GE 9-cell matrix, we had industry attractiveness and business strength factors. In the Hoffa's 15-cell product evolution, product and market evolution matrix, we had business competitive position and the stage of market evolution. But in this case, the McKinsey 7S framework, we do not consider the market factors or competitive factors. We only try to introspect. The company only tries to have a look within to find out whether there is going to be a fit between the incoming strategy, or is there a huge mismatch? Can things be changed in time before it is too late? So, in that way, it is a very essential and very helpful tool, because if you have detected a problem before it happens, you have prevented a lot of losses and harm to many stakeholders. Employees might lose jobs, the company might lose face in the market, and so many other things can happen. So, because business is not just about money, it has a lot of intangible factors also. So, that is why an analysis and evaluation of the internal structure, the organizational design has or is of paramount importance, and that is how the McKinsey 7S framework is vital. So, we will first look at the hard S's and begin with strategy. Strategy is the long term plan, as we have discussed earlier also in the introductory classes of our series. The strategy is the long term plan. It dictates the vision, mission, objective and goals of a company. These together, they are called as the strategic intent, what the company wishes to achieve. If let us say a company wishes to become a very or the best service oriented company of India, or the most consumer friendly or customer friendly organization of the world, or wants to be rated the highest in the world for customer satisfaction. And at the same time, this company is going to pursue a strategy of, let us say, retrenchment. Now, will this strategy be a best fit? Because its internal customers, the employees, they might not like a retrenchment strategy if its vision is to become a very customer friendly organization, because the employees, company's employees are also its internal customers, and leaving them very dissatisfied. So, that might be in out of sync, with the strategy. So, internal strategy or vision and mission and the strategy which you choose, they must be in sync. Structure. Here structure refers to the physical shape that the organization or the design that the organization takes in terms of structure, in terms of hierarchy, in terms of the number of layers, the length of layers. So, it could be a very complex tree structure, inverted tree structure, or it could be a very simple flat structure like many companies have. So, how does structure determine a strength or weakness? In case the incoming strategy or the chosen strategy needs you to be very quick in decision making. In case the strategy which you have chosen, let us say you have chosen a very aggressive strategy where you need to grow very fast. If you need to grow very fast, a growth strategy, wouldn't you be happy if you take very quick decisions? Because growing fast and being quick on your feet needs you to make very fast decisions. There might be risk involved, but you can't be late, because the competition might be there before you arrive. So, in that case, a company needs to be very quick on its feet, and in that case the structure has to be flat, because a hierarchical structure will take a lot of time to make very important decisions. If it is a bureaucratic organization, the time taken will be even more. So, in those cases, time taken directly relates to the structure, organizational structure. That is how these two are related. Systems. Systems are basically policies, or these policies might be spoken or unspoken, written or just understood or implied, wherein day to day activities have to be followed or have to be carried out in a certain fashion. The way an employee dresses, the way an employee makes a presentation, the way a worker carries out his job, routine tasks. So, systems will determine the ease of work. Is everybody comfortable working in this place? Because systems are in place. We often say that systems are in place, and sometimes when people get very upset, they say there is no system at all. When do these things come up? Well, systems, if they are working well for an organization, mostly people remain happy, employees are happy, and normally a happy organization inside reflects in a happy customer outside. So, systems are vital, even though it appears that day to day functioning of a company will not impact the final consumer or the end consumer or the company goodwill. It has a very profound impact on these factors. So, that is about the hard S's. Now, as I said, these are hard S's, or called hard S's because they are tangible, they are written, they are expressed, they can be seen, they can be documented, they can be changed, all of them are observable in nature. So, that is why these are hard S's. Traditionally, this part or the hard S's is what companies had been focusing. That is why McKinsey decided that no, soft skills are as vital, the soft S's are as vital as the hard S's. The strategy, structure and systems are important, but shared values, style, staff, skills, these are also vital for the company's survival, particularly in the latest kind of environment that companies operate in. So, what are shared values? Again, this is this concerns with employee satisfaction, employee loyalty, because an ethical company will follow business proper or appropriate business conduct in all its activities, not just with employees, but with production, but with every other aspect of business, be it payment to suppliers, be it the development of suppliers. So, and everybody wants to be associated. You may be a customer, you may be a supplier, you may be a regulator, everybody wants to be associated with a ethical organization. So, ethics is taken care of by this S, that is shared values. An ethical organization, and if it has a very robust culture, culture is the set of shared beliefs, practices, values that an organization inculcates or wants to inculcate in its members or stakeholders. Well, an organization with a proven and very robust culture will be able to tide over most market crises, will be able to tide over a lot of economic downturns. We often see that at the drop of a hat, whenever there is the slightest indication of a market turbulence, companies go into a frenzy laying off people. But there are other companies, normally the bellwethers of any industry, normally fortune companies. These companies, they have a lot of patience. They are characterized by their top leadership is characterized by a lot of patience. Where does this patience come from? They do not lay off immediately. They in fact retain these employees for a very long time. They try to cultivate good morals in them. They try to cultivate these good work ethics in them. They practically they transform the lives of these employees by giving them an opportunity to work with them, by letting them understand their culture, letting them imbibe their culture, the organization's culture in them. So, what is it that separates companies with great shared values and companies who compromise on ethics? Well, if you just think a little, you will imagine that there are a lot of companies who have very dissatisfied customers. They might have great market share, but on the internet and on various other platforms, you will find companies cribbing about them. You will find customers complaining about them. So, why does that happen? Because somewhere there is an element of violation of a work ethic, a violation of a business ethic. That is where the shared values will be considered weak, because some employee did not think it was very important to return that customer call, or some employee or some manager did not think that it was very vital to give this year's appraisal or a positive appraisal for their teams. So, in those cases, the shared values are not very strong. On the converse, if a company has very strong shared values, the feeling of togetherness, the feeling of committedness, the feeling of teamwork, if these values exist in a very robust way, in a very time proven way, then these companies, they tend to these employees also, their teams and the company as a whole, they tend to stand beside each other in tough times. So, that helps the entire company as a whole to tide over a certain crisis, and it is very vital. This cannot be measured, this cannot be judged using any analytical tool. They have to be, these shared values have to be observed, understood. If a consultant wishes to judge a company's strengths and weaknesses and wishes to observe its shared values, it has to work or sit in the same place where these employees work, where the workers carry out their daily activities, and then observe what is the level of happiness among them. Are they really cribbing about their daily functions? Are they, do they look forward to the next day, or they just grumble about the weekend being very far? So, these are certain indicators of poor or strong shared values. Style, well, it refers to a style of leadership. various styles of leadership exist. A person could be a very democratic leader, a person could be a very autocratic leader, a person could be, or a leader could be very demonstrative in nature, he could be or she could be a very participative person. Many styles of leadership exist, and all of them have been proven to be effective, but slowly some kinds of leadership or styles of leadership are being replaced by democratic and participative leaderships, because autocratic leadership normally works for a short term or a short time period. Over a long run, you might not be able to dictate your team members in the same manner. Why? Because there might not be any team member in the first place. Where did they disappear? Well, these days the attrition is across the board, across industries, the rate of attrition has increased. So, you will not find companies with 20-year-old employees, I mean employees who have been with them for 2 decades, 3 decades, those times are behind us. So, the autocratic style of leadership has been shown to work or to be effective in a very short term. So, what is the style of leadership? If you have a very autocratic kind of approach towards leadership and the new strategy chosen requires you to be very welcoming towards consumers, welcoming towards employees, to be very amicable towards everybody, then in that case your implementation is going to suffer and the output may not be desired. So, the next soft S is staff, which refers to the general capabilities. Now, these are not very pinpointed or very specific capabilities. It is not about the typing speed of a person, it does not refer to the ability to work with a machine, or the effectiveness of a person at a certain operation. This refers to their general abilities, as in are they very strong team workers, the soft skills side of a certain person. So, over a period of time, culture tends to percolate into every employee. Their very nature transforms along with the organization's culture. So, if an organization has a very strong time tested culture, then it will pervade throughout the organization. It will be visible in every employee's attitude. Although employees will retain their individual personalities, but there also will be certain attributes in an employee's character which reflects the organization's culture, the organization's habits, values, and this will reflect in their general capabilities. This is what we refer to as staff. Their general capabilities, meaning companies who have a lot of patience, who don't lay off very often or frequently, their employees also tend to be relaxed in their approach towards work. They also tend to be more tolerant towards newcomers and maybe some weaknesses of newcomers. In those cases, these employees, they tend to show a lot of resilience, a lot of patience. They tend to welcome these newcomers. They show a propensity to train them and include them in their culture, a very inclusive kind of culture. So, that is what we mean when we say staff. And skills, well, these are specific capabilities. Specific capabilities meaning what are your proven skills? What have you been chosen for? You could be an excellent communicator. You could be very good at a certain machine, operating a certain machine. You might have a proven expertise in doing certain things. So, these are specific capabilities which is referred to as skills. Well, all these S's taken together, this picture is this diagram has been shown, and as you see, all of these circles, they are connected to each other. They represent a tight knit organization, and if all of them are observed to be experienced to be strong by the consultant, then the consultant might approve of the incoming strategy. The consultant might approach the company and say that, okay, you had hired me to analyze or evaluate your internal organizational design. I think all of the S's, they are in sync, and they have they are very strong. You have a very strong culture, your strategy is aligned with your activities, systems. So, you can go ahead and implement the strategy you have chosen. So, that is how the consultant takes the help of the McKinsey 7S framework and concludes whether the incoming strategy, the chosen strategy, is fit or not for this organization. I hope whatever I have explained about the 7S framework has made some sense. We will meet again in the next video, which is about strategy implementation. Thank you for watching.